2023 and 2024 annual action plans have been amended and will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development pending a mandatory 30-day public review period beginning Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. A public hearing will be held Monday, March 31st, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. in council chambers located on the second floor of the municipal building. The draft amended plan will be available beginning March 5th, 2025 in the Department of Development and the Office of the Mayor on the fourth floor of the municipal building at 200 East 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York, 14701. Additionally, it will be made available online at www.jamestowny.gov. All comments regarding the annual action plan amendments will be accepted by the Department of Development, Municipal Building, 4th floor, Jamestown, New York, 14701, in writing until or at the public hearing.
Thank you. Is there any correspondence that was received regarding this?
I did not receive anything.
Thank you. At this time, I will ask if there's anyone who would like to speak on the public hearing. Please state your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes. And just remember that it is in regards to the public hearing only for the matter at hand. Okay? Anyone who would like to speak on behalf of the public hearing, please set up the mics. Leave your name and address and 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Josiah Lamp, and I work with Chautauqua Opportunities, the Director of Housing and Emergency Services, and as the Chair of the Chautauqua County Homeless Coalition. And I want to state that we are in support of the amendment to the action plans here, and specifically we want to continue to support the Gateway Lost Project, which we have supported throughout this process. We really see this project as having the opportunity to really contribute to helping those who are experiencing homelessness in our community. 110 units of permanent supportive housing would be really transformative. And so we believe that this project should be continued to be supported. We have seen an increase in homelessness, as we all know, in the community. And so one of the biggest gaps in needs that we have is available housing for people who are looking for new housing. And so this could be really impactful. So we want to state our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of the public hearing?
Good evening, Lisa Schmidt-Ferrer-Miller. I live at 112 Westminster Drive in Jamestown, and I'm chairperson of the Healthy at Home Chautauqua Healthy Housing Coalition. And I'd like to speak to the allocation of funds to the Gateway site preparation. I've been in a situation where managing grants where you end up not being able to use money the way you had intended or in the time frame allowed, and I really appreciate that. And applaud the City Department of Development for coming up with a plan, recognizing that they would not be able to deploy these funds as intended within the funding period, and identifying what I feel is an equally beneficial use of those funds that will benefit residents of the city. The site preparation work at that parcel is really important regardless of the future use of that parcel. And currently, I think if you've been down there, you realize that there's erosion going on, and certainly releasing any contaminants that are on that site into the Chautauqua River, into the area around there, and certainly to anybody using that site. If directing home funds to that site preparation can accelerate the availability of safe and affordable and supported, most importantly, that supported housing, I believe that this does benefit residents, both homeowners and renters of Jamestown, and even in the surrounding areas. I think we've all seen how the people who are struggling with mental health issues and with homelessness and their struggles are spilling into the public realm, really across our city, and almost every single neighborhood has been touched by that. So again, I encourage council to approve the amendment as written, and reallocating that $640,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the public hearing?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lillian May. I'm a former member of the City Council, so I feel real comfortable in this space, and thank you for recognizing and welcoming me earlier, for those of you whom I know. I'm in favor of this particular amendment. I know there's a lot of work that's been going on through the years for this 5-year plan. But I think internally and externally, the environment has changed a lot in the nation and here. So I think it's very appropriate that the plan be amended, and I'm absolutely in favor of the strategy to use it for a strategic project in the city of Jamestown, one of which has been worked on for many years. The reason I'm a little worried and I wanted to come tonight is because grants seem to be like, how nicely to say it, rescinded or sent back to the home base. And when I recognized the danger of that, or at least the potential concern about that, I thought I wanted to show up this evening and register my hope that the city council will understand the importance of recognizing that the plan probably can well use to be amended, and the money appropriated in a timely way before any mishap, as it were, occurs. I don't know if Jamestown, the city of Jamestown, has had any difficulty with grants being imperiled, or in peril, I should say, but I think we have to sort of worry about that. And I definitely wish to speak during the city council meeting for the good value and the importance of the Gateway Law project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. Anyone else would like to speak on behalf of the...
Doug Champ, 225 Bowen Street. I want to confine my comments to the $640,000, not the extraneous thought process of what we should do with the project or we shouldn't. Specifically, the home program is a 5-year kind of continuation. And what I'd like to know, because there seems to be a rush to spend $640,000 now, has the DOD submitted a written grant amendment request asking for the extension of time allowable up to 1 year for all or any of the remaining home funding that has previously not been spent down as now so identified with the $640,000 request? Within the federal regulations, that's allowable. So I don't know if they have done this, why they haven't. If they have done it, the city council know about it. In conjunction with that, this is a specific project under the I'm reading the regulations. This is not coming from me. If the project consists of rehabilitation, new construction, with or without acquisitions, the participating jurisdiction, that's the city of Jamestown, have executed a written legally binding agreement under which any home assistance will be provided to the owner for any identified project which all necessary financing is secured. All funding must be secured. A budget and schedule have been established, and underwriting has been completed, and under which construction is scheduled to start within 12 months of the agreed date. If the project is owned by the precipitating jurisdiction, and it's not, the project has been set up in the disbursement of information system established by HUD, and construction can be expected to start within 12 months of the project setup date. If none of this has been done to date, the allocation of $640,000 is moot. In addition to that, there seems to be kind of like a wondering about eligible activities. I wish I had more time. Home funds must be, this is the register, this is what the home program says. Home funding may be used by participating jurisdictions to provide incentives to develop and support affordable rental housing and home ownership affordability through the acquisition and incurred assistance of home buyers. New construction, reconstruction, or rehabilitation of non-luxury housing with suitable amenities, including real property acquisition, site improvements, conversion, demolition is in the regs. And other expenses include financing costs, relocation expenses of any displaced person, family, business, or organization, provide tenant-based rental assistance, including security deposits to provide payment at a reasonable administrative and planning cost, and to provide the payment of operating expenses of community housing development organizations. The housing must be permanent or transitional housing. Now, all of this are eligible expenses. That particular amount of money represents 0.00008%. 8, that's less than 1% of the total project cost. In past history, in order for grant money to be given to any project in a grant amount, there used to have to be a but-for agreement. In other words, without that money, that project couldn't go forward. This is a $77 million project, of which $640,000 represents less than 1%. I proclaim that that money should be used within the city of Jamestown for the taxpayers. This project's not going to fail because of $640,000. The regulations state that, so if they haven't done their amendment, and they haven't requested it, I ask why not? Because there's more than enough time, or could have been enough time, for this to happen long before this particular date. So consequently, eligible activities, including demolition, and by the way, manufactured housing is also eligible. That means prefabricated housing can be part of the purchase agreement to put on vacant sites. It's in the regulation. You debate it, I can show it to you. So all this discussion about why we should or why we shouldn't should be based on the $640,000 tonight, not all the other dialogues. I'll get into that later, but I want you to understand that there's other options for this money. And there should have been presented long ago to City Council, rather than tonight, why we have to rush the $640,000 to do soil removal. Thank you.
To answer Mr. Champ's first question, was there an amendment submitted or a request to amend for an extension for a period of 12 months? No. The reason for that is because, as I think it was pointed out by Dr. Nay, there is a great deal of rescinding of funding happening at the federal level. We've been notified of another grant that is has been rescinded that was also for
to speak on behalf of the hearing?
My name's Mark Gadby, from Prospect Street, and, I wanna preface this by saying, me and my wife have donated to the Through Kitchen, to the Jamestown City Mission, every year for over 40 years. Meals on Wheels, we do them cash donations every year for 40 years. And I just wanted you to know that before I say what I gotta say here. And when this project began, which I only found out about recently, it said there would be no cost to taxpayers. So I think asking this $640,000 for the taxpayers to use this money for this project is wrong, because the housing stock on the south side has took a beating ever since the Applewood project in 2010. And I'm actually afraid to see what's gonna happen to a lot more of this housing stock in another 10 years down the road, when they take another 110 rental units out of Jamestown's housing stock. And so I'm hoping that you guys, especially you guys that just ran, I looked at the platform you guys ran on, and it said that you guys were running on fiscal responsibility and advocating for the taxpayers, and I hope that you all do that tonight. Because it's important that we put some money back into this housing stock that took a beating from losing. We got 15 of these units now in Jamestown. 15 low-income housing units. And when I read in the paper the other day about them calling Jamestown an entitlement community, that really bothered me. I said to myself, is that something we're supposed to be proud of? Or is that something we should be ashamed of? Because that's not a good designation to be known as an entitlement community. And I think we're just inflating more by putting things in the paper like that. And I really think the south side of Jamestown's housing stock has a lot contributed from the Applewood project. And there's so many things with this project that I see wrong. Like, where do they think it's fair to put disabled people and single women with kids in the same building? They're gonna put homeless people and drug addicts in. I don't see how that's fair to the disabled people and to the poor people to be mixed in. It's like you're segregating. Years ago they wanted to desegregate, and now it's like they want to put them all in it together. And it doesn't seem fair. And I didn't want to come here tonight, but I thought I had to. Somebody's got to speak up for the record taxpayers of the city, and I hope that you don't give them the $640,000, because the problem is we got 21% senior citizens, and a lot of them people don't hear the news and get online and don't even know about these funds. I didn't even know them funds were available, and I don't think they worked hard enough trying to get people to use this money that's available to them. So I hope that you vote no on the $640,000. Thank you. And I want to thank you all for what y'all do. I know it ain't easy.
Yeah, buzz going. Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in regards to the public hearing this evening?
Yeah, Mr. President,
I want to give them a chance, and then I'll let the council. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, then I'll let council people ask questions or make comments. And just for a point of clarification, after the public hearing, we'll re-adjourn at 7:30 for the regular voting session. That's when it will be voted on. So people can then make comments after that as well, if they want to speak to that or some other things. But this is pertaining only to the allocation of the $640,000 at this particular point. So I'll ask a second time, is there anyone else here that would like to speak? I'll ask a third time, is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, I'll open it up to any comments from the council. Oh, we have one more, go ahead.
My name's Rich Jakinski, I live at 130 Martin Road, and I've heard that this $77 million housing unit is already gonna be done, no matter if the 640 grand gets put into it or not. So I think we should vote no, because it's already gonna be taken care of in the 77 million, so that's all I got to say. I don't think we should be voting on.
Thank you. Ask one more time, is there anyone else who would like to speak? If not, is there anyone from the council who has any comments or questions at this point?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to do my due diligence. I was a little disappointed that more of us didn't go down and talk to Crystal or Casey or both of them. I went twice, I spent about an hour and a half. Whether you're gonna vote for or against it, I don't care. It's up to you. And whether, I'm not gonna be mad at anyone for whichever way they vote, but you need to know the facts. And I did get a lot of facts from them, and I got a lot of facts against from other people. But I would like to tell everybody that, and I still haven't made up my decision, to be honest with you. When it comes to me, it's when I'm gonna make up my mind. Yes, it's gonna be built, no matter what. Would I like to see it go to housing? Absolutely. Whether that could happen or not, my biggest worry is that it goes away, like that $1 million that it went away today or yesterday, whenever that got taken. We can't afford to lose another $640,000. And it doesn't, and I think Crystal emphasized this, that you can't do a project doesn't take 2 or 3 months. It takes 6 months to a year. And they've worked hard, Casey, and I respect them a lot. They answered a lot of questions for me, and they're not given credit like they should. But at this point, let's just get it over. Let's decide, and that's it. I'm done.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just had a quick question for Crystal. The $640,000, I've kind of labeled it as the $640,000 copper table, because it seems like we're just trying to get rid of it as fast as we can. You talk about possibly losing it, but that's only transpired over the past 3 months. Okay, obviously what you're referring to is President Donald Trump, Doge. That's what you're concerned about, and that's only 3 months out of 5 years. So I guess my concern is if we're sitting at $640,000 of leftover money that we want to hurry up and get rid of when we've been sitting on it for 5 years. That's what's kind of concerning to me. It's 5-year-old funds. So the question I have for you is, are we in jeopardy of losing this money now because you did not file that extension in a timely manner?
No, sir. That is not the case. And if you look at the breakdown, from year to year, the dollar amounts vary. There's a reason for that. Each year's allocation, is around between $300 to $350 or so thousand. We have seen a couple of years that were a bit higher. The 2020 remaining funds are in the amount of $20,342.52. It seems like an odd rounded number. It all comes down to the way projects are funded, and what type of project is funded. So, one single home project does not typically cost the full $300,000 allocation. They vary in cost. So it really depends on the specific project that's being funded, how much that project is going to cost, and then it rolls over to the following year. As you see, there's a pattern here. I did some research, and it dates back all the way to the beginning of when we became an entitlement community in the 80s. And numbers will be skewed, but, I think that speaks to the sheer amount of work and projects that the team that we have currently have been able to complete. A great deal of it is HUD funding, and we also received additional, CARES Act funding and Home American Rescue Plan funding on top of our regular annual allocations starting in 2021. The reason for that is because we were expeditious and, able to get through additional funding in a timely manner and, in compliance with HUD's requirements. So, we were given additional funding because we were able to demonstrate that we could do that. So these years, you know, as you can see, they're all a little bit different. It all depends on the type of project, how that project is funded, and, you know, we certainly can open up our tracking system, and we'd be happy to do so with anyone, to show how funds are drawn, why we make decisions to draw funding from 2021 versus cutting down 2020, in, you know, completion. But there's a reason that HUD gives us a length of time to spend that funding down. I also would be happy to show, reports, they are available online, year after year since the beginning of our entitlement status. There is not a year where all CDBG and all home funds were spent in all of its, you know, spent down to zero, right? And that is because projects vary year to year.
Just a couple more questions, either for yourself or as a Steve inspector.
Yes.
First off, thank you again for coming, Steve, and taking the time out of your evening to come here and meet with us and answer any further questions. Are you aware that we have a pilot agreement? We have a pilot agreement, correct? For this program?
It hasn't been executed yet.
So we have a pilot agreement for this program. It has not been executed or signed, correct?
Okay.
But you can't execute, or that hasn't been signed because this project started roughly 5 years ago, correct? I mean, COVID came, canceled it, right? And the reason why that pilot agreement isn't changed is because the building needs to be reassessed, correct?
No, the pilot payments are.
Can you step up to the mic? People can hear. Thank you. And then identify your name for clerk as well as
Steve Mount, Stell Incorporated. So, the pilot payments are based upon, New York State, real property tax law 581A, which, requires, that the property be assessed using the income valuation of the property. So, only, ordinarily, there's 3 different ways to assess a property, and they're all combined to come up with, the tax burden that it should have. Income valuation is just one. The other is what the property costs to build, and the other is what the current market value of the property is. So, market value and cost to build are not factors in calculating the pilot payment. It's only the income, that the value of the income that the property will produce once it's under operations. So, the increase in the construction costs really does not affect the pilot. It does not affect the pilot. And the difference, we're mandated, the building will be under strict regulations as to how much rent can be charged of the tenants. It's less than, equal to or less than 60% of area median income. So 30 to 40% of a person's income who is at 60% of area median income, and also gibberish to a lot of people. But anyways.
I'm not concerned about the rent, not to cut you off, I'm not concerned about the rent, but, and maybe Crystal can answer this. This assessment was done 5 years ago when Lisa Wolf was here, correct?
If I may, can I jump in? Elliot Romano, city attorney. So we do know that past assessor Ms. Volpe, she did unfortunately pass away earlier this year. Myself and Mr. Auld 5 years ago had worked on a pilot agreement. Recently, as in the last 2 weeks, we did provide all the information for the Gateway Lofts project to the city's current assessor, Heather Deal. Ms. Deal has done a fantastic job in doing new calculations, so we slightly have to alter the pilot agreement for the assessor's preferences. Just so you're aware, assessors set requirements for the pilot agreements. So Mr. Auld and I have been working on that with the approval of Ms. Deal.
But, Mr. Romano, obviously, with the current housing market and what we've all seen it done, that assessment is obviously gonna go way up, on the bill, correct?
Yes, the assessment, from what I've seen, is going up.
So one would think that if the assessment goes up on the building, does that change the pilot numbers at all?
The pilot numbers for the city will be going up, yes.
Okay, next question. We don't see all of that pilot when we do it. Or the way that's written now, we won't see all of that. So people are throwing a number of $85,000 around for 15 years, correct?
That was the prior pilot agreement.
Right.
We would not see all of that.
Right, and that's what I'm referencing, the previous pilot agreement that was originally started 5 years ago when this project first began. We wouldn't see all of the money from that 85,000.
We would not. No, it's the city of Jamestown. We would not.
Okay, the city of Jamestown. Where would some of that $85,000 go? What other entities would be receiving money from that $85,000?
Well, the two other entities would be the County of Chautauqua and Jamestown City School District.
So unless we renegotiate, or you renegotiate that pilot program, there's a possibility that we're not even gonna see the total pilot fund, the total pilot money. When I say we, I'm talking about the city of Jamestown. We might have to give up some of that money to those two other entities, is that correct?
From the current pilot agreement that we're working on, we would not give up that money to those entities.
So what you're telling me is you're negotiating a new pilot agreement, so the city of Jamestown would cut out the Jamestown Public Schools and would cut out Chautauqua County and we would take all the money.
I wouldn't want to classify it as that.
Well, you're gonna eliminate it, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna eliminate it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. One more question for Steve. Do you have all your investors lined up? I mean, is all your paperwork done, all your investors, paperwork completed, including anything to do with the mitigation agreement or the pilot agreement? Obviously, we just went through. Is all of your paperwork done and complete, and this program is ready to go?
We are working to that point. We have an investor who has produced what is necessary at this time, which is called a letter of intent to invest, which has certain details in it which are satisfactory to New York State to allow us to proceed to the next step, which is the full application, which will be prepared and ready probably around July of this year. And at that time, the investor will have to put forth another higher level of commitment than the letter of intent at the same time as we submit our application in July. All this is a process that takes months to come to completion, where the investor will propose certain terms to their investment, and the state will suggest alternatives, give some pushback. There'll be give and take. The process takes about 6 months, which is why the state has told us that they think that we will be ready to begin construction in around February of next year. And in February of next year is when I could tell you that, yes, everything is 100% complete, done, signed, and sealed, ready to go.
So in other words, once again, I hate to interrupt, but you're here in front of city council, in front of all these citizens. Some of them might be low to moderate income. Some might be able to use some of the $640,000 that you're asking for. And what you're standing here, telling us is that you don't have everything lined up. You don't have your investors that are this phase, and, I hear the words might, possibly, so,
Well, there's a lot of work to be done before we could start building the apartments,
sure.
but we could spend this $640,000 within a couple of months, I would give it, because we can segregate out a part of the project, regarding the cleanup, activities, and there's something called the sub-slab depressurization system, which the Department of, Environmental Conservation, the DEC, is pressing us urgently to get this sub-slab depressurization system installed, because there's harmful vapors coming up from the ground, and this will eliminate that problem. So there's that, and then there's the need to remove contaminated soil around the culvert. The city has its own project to fix the culvert that runs through the parking lot there. We're gonna do some soil remediation around where the city is gonna do their work. And that can all be a segregated, separate, like, sub-project, if you will, of the entire housing project. We could use the money right away. It would be very beneficial to the project to be able to spend this money up front and get this amount of remediation done before we start the apartments, because otherwise we would have to borrow the money to do this work. And the way that the New York State brownfield tax credits work is you have to finish building the building, which that's going to take 14 months to build this building. So we're going to have to start work, build the entire building, and then for 14 months, and then wait 3 years before the state of New York reimburses us for the brownfield cleanup work. So we'd be borrowing that $640,000 for a really long time, paying interest on it and whatnot. So it's a huge benefit to the project to get it up front like this.
Well, I'll just make a statement on that. I don't want my constituents, I think about my two neighbors next door that are in their 80s living alone. Their husbands are passed on. They still are very active in the community. They drive. They want to stay in their homes. Their homes need work. They could use this money. And I don't want them to have to go out and borrow money to fix up their homes when they fit in perfect parameters of this money. I am about the people. I am about helping people. I don't think you need our money, sir. I think you can line up your own investors. I think your project is going to go through, and I wish you all the luck on that project, and I appreciate you coming here this evening.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I have a couple of comments, please, Mr. President. First of all, new to the city council this past year, still learning a lot as I go through it. However, I believe that for Jamestown to succeed as a city, it needs to become investment friendly. Investment friendly means a lot of different things, whether it's the Gateway Project, whether it's industry, whether it's the M&T Bank trying to relocate their facility to a vacant area that shouldn't even be vacant any longer. When you become investment friendly, you create jobs. I believe this project will create not only local jobs for some local contracting companies, but jobs for people that are going to be working within the facilities. That's very important to the growth of the community. The pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes. That's important because I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have to pay that. I mean, they don't, that's on their own. There are other not-for-profits that do not give us a payment in lieu of taxes. Beneficial, in the end, to the taxpayers of the city of Jamestown, the $85,000 or whatever Elliot and his staff come up to agreeing with. And again, we're talking about a lot of different things that aren't showing up in these conversations. Their group has agreed to tear down some housing, which in turn would have been the city's cost down the road, or the county's cost. Again, falling back on the taxpayers. So by them, as part of their agreement, doing these things, it's offsetting any of the $640,000 that will be transferred. And Jeff, I don't mean to correct you, but I don't believe they asked for the 640. I believe we agreed with Crystal and the Department of Development to redirect that funding. I don't believe Stell personally came to our group and asked for it. That's all.
I have a question, Mr. President. This is,
I don't want to get off the topic of
No.
order. This is the public hearing. There'll be comment if you can
this is about the remediation, so it's part of it.
briefly.
What are they, is the cost, would I be correct in saying the cost of remediation you were told is $3 million? I don't know, Crystal or Steve can answer this.
Yeah, so approximate cost of the brownfield cleanup program, including the subsidized pressurization system and the removal of contaminated soils, is about approximately $3 million.
I just, I'm not an expert, I just find that a low amount when I know what Allen Street cost, and there was another place out of town that was, they didn't even build anything on it, they remediated, it was $20 million. And what if it is, instead of 3 million, what if it's 10? What happens?
Well, we have done what is called a remedial action plan with Department of Environmental Conservation. To be admitted to the brownfield cleanup program, you have to do what's called a remedial investigation, which means like basically drilling a lot of holes and sending a lot of samples out to be tested. And then you come up with a remedial action work plan, which says, okay, based on this information that we have from the remedial investigation, this is our work plan. And then once your work plan is approved by the DEC, then you're officially admitted to the brownfield cleanup program. So we've spent over $100,000 already on investigating the site, so we make sure that we know exactly what's there and that our remedial action work plan will take care of what's there, and it won't cost more than $3 million.
Thank you.
May I just make
Can I
one
take one more
clarifying
thing?
statement?
No, if you can during the public, when we get to the regular council meeting, there'll be another chance for people to speak.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that, all HUD funding, home